We're on a mission to bring our sailboat Maverick back to the U.S. from Guatemala. So we sailed on our friend's catamaran from New Orleans, across the Gulf of Mexico, through Mexico and Belize, all the way to Guatemala, where she waited safely at Captain John's. After 28 days, many adventures, and some of the most magical places we've ever been, we finally made it to the Rio Dulce in beautiful Guatemala. We'll give ourselves a little time to rest and prep Maverick for her biggest sail in many years. The same trip we just made in reverse back to the U.S. We're on a time crunch though. We need to be out of the Caribbean before the start of hurricane season in June. Follow the journey to find out if we make it home and if we make it in time. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to follow our journey. Give us a like and say hi in the comments as well. We'd love to hear from you, and it really helps the channel grow.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at something that I never thought I'd be doing, and that's a little bit of sewing. So on a boat, when you're doing different boat work, you're doing all kinds of different projects, especially if you got a sailboat, and canvas is one of those different things. So Vivor reached out to us and asked us if we could use any of their products. Looked through a lot of the lists. They've got a lot of good products on there, but one of the things that I was doing is I was making hatch covers and I was making window coverings for Maverick. So what I want to do is I want to get into showing you exactly how I made these. So I cheated a little bit. I've been practicing and I've already done a little bit of the sewing, but I want to show you exactly how you can use this type of sewing machine and you can sew canvas. So initially I was looking at getting the sail right, and I thought, okay, maybe I could do that to do the repairs on the sails, to do some canvas work. You know, we've got a Bimini, we've got Dodger, we've got all those different things that we can use some repairs on. And I did repair the Dodger and I did repair the sail pack. So I've been doing a little bit of practicing before I actually came on camera to show you what I'm doing. But I wanted to show you how this works. So I do want to say I'm certainly not a seamstress. You know, the extent of my sewing career was in high school in home ec class when I made AC/DC pillows. So thank you, Miss Diamond, for showing me how to sew. But what I'm going to do here now is I've done a little bit of practicing. It even took me a while to actually learn how to thread the machine up and kind of get back into the swing of things. So I've already stitched a few things together, but I want to show you exactly what this machine does because it is an industrial sewing machine. One of the things I looked at as I was looking at getting maybe a sail right so I could fix my own canvas, I could do different things, because it's really expensive, especially if you're not in the States and you're somewhere that's remote. If you're not aware, Sailrite's probably one of the most popular types of sewing machine out there for sailors. I looked at getting one of those and they're about $2,000. So there's certain things that it can do that this here machine can't do, but I feel like with the price of this, which was about $450, it was certainly able to do everything that I'm looking to do. So let's take a look, let's get into it and kind of see what this thing can do. So the first thing I've got to do is I've got to put on my trusty eyeglasses here because I cannot see at all with this thing. Especially threading it up was pretty difficult. So like I said, what I'm doing here, this is a window cover that I'm going to show you when I'm installing it, but it's going to cover the 3 windows on the sides of Maverick. I've got a window cover that's covering the front 3 windows now. I've already got one made that's covering the other side. So basically what I'm doing is I'm sewing on some piping here that goes into a track that's already on Maverick, and this holds the top, and then I'm going to put some grommets in along the sides and the bottom to hold it in place. But what it's going to do is it's going to keep out the sun from us, and this is made of Sunbrella. So it keeps the sun out, and it's also waterproof. So another thing is the big windows on Maverick. One of the things that we have issues with is it leaking and not being able to find the leak. So I'm hoping that this will take care of 2 different things. It's going to take care of the sun issue, and it's going to take care of the leaking. So anyway, you can see down here that this is 2 layers of material here, this piping is. And then also we're sewing on the canvas here. So we're sewing through 3 different layers here. So for your typical home sewing machine, it's probably going to be too much to sew through. So I'm going to just sew through here. And like I said, I am certainly no seamstress, but we're going to give it a shot here. And the toughest part about doing this is actually controlling the material because it's so darn big. So as you can see, as I'm sewing this here, you can see I'm not a professional, but you don't really have to be a professional. I just really need this thing stitched together so it don't come off. It is bunching up on me right here. Try and keep that down as much as I can and keep a straight line going. But really, Amy is my cameraman here, and typically she would be the one that's feeding this for me. So maybe this is a three-man job, I don't know, or a three-person job. All right, like I said, I'm certainly no professional here. And then we're just going to cut off the threads here. So like I said, I wouldn't enter this into any sewing competition, guaranteed, but this will get the job done for us. Basically, it's just, I just want to make sure I've got seams on both sides here. I've got two rows of thread, 2 rows of seam put down here just to basically keep this piping on. And this is the outside. It looks decent. You know, and the thread's good. It's good and strong. Good strong thread that's UV resistant, because that's another one of the things. If you're down in the south in the sun, the thread will come apart. So I've got the sides done. I've got the piping done, and I also marked along here so that I can kind of keep a fairly straight line. But I've got one stitch on this side done, but I also want to do another one down here just to make it stronger and to keep it from coming apart. So let's try that one there and see if we can do any better on this side. So I did want to go over a little bit about the machine that if you're using a regular sewing machine, maybe you're not aware of, but it actually threads from left to right on here, and then we take the threads and put them out through the back. I think that is different on an industrial sewing machine. So the threading I can kind of go over with, but you can kind of figure out exactly the way it goes. But if you're actually getting a machine like this, or you have a industrial machine and you have questions about how to thread it, if you've got one, probably don't have that problem. But if you leave a question below, I can go over that and kind of tell you how I figured it out and what I did with it. But we're going to run this other line of stitching right here. So one of the things that I did learn, now this is if you're a real beginner at this. So if you're sewing, you're probably going to be laughing at me knowing what's going on here. But we start with the needle all the way down, and I start my stitches, and then I back stitch a little bit. And I'm going very slow. This machine can go up to 3,000. I think I'm at 300, so I'm going really slow. All right, so I wanted to talk to you about the machine itself. I've never had a sewing machine or an industrial sewing machine before, so I was pretty surprised at the size of it, and it's like really, really sturdy. It's heavy. The one thing I would say is that it didn't come with great instructions on how to put it together, so you kind of got to use your imagination, and it took me a while to put it together, to be honest with you. For those of you out there that do have an industrial sewing machine, maybe you won't think this is funny at all, but it actually has an oil pan. So that is something new for me with regards to a sewing machine. But anyway, maybe if you've got an industrial sewing machine, you'll see this. This is maybe not something, if you are a liveaboard, sailor that you're going to keep on your boat, you're not going to do that. But if you're someone like us that has a house and you sail 50% of the time, 60% of the time, come back, you can certainly do all your repairs at home. So I've got it here, leaving it here, and I'm pretty happy about the thing. There's probably a lot more that it can do. It's got stitches from, I think it's up to 4 millimeters. The stitches here you can adjust. I believe at the highest one, I've got it on the highest one now because I'm doing canvas, it's like up to 4 millimeters. So the foot goes up high enough that you can do up to 14 layers of denim, which is certainly enough to be able to do sailcloth or to be able to do some umbrella. And the power behind this needle, I'm pretty sure you can actually stitch plywood with this thing. I mean, it's pretty crazy. All right, so now that I've finished everything up here, let's get back to Maverick, and I can show you everything that I was able to make with this Vevor sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how we're going to install it on Maverick, and let's see how it looks and see how I did. All right, so our canvas guy in Guatemala, Neri, made a cover for the top windows. So basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to put the same thing across these windows. One, to keep the sun out, and two, with these big windows, one of the problems is that they leak a little bit. And they're closed up here, but they still for some reason leak. So it's going to hopefully keep the sun out, and it's going to keep the water out as well. I tried putting it on there initially, but I've roughed it up a little bit more because the adhesive wouldn't really stick to this. So I've got screws to kind of go in this little track, and we're going to see if these will work. I'm trying to countersink them now because the piping is having a difficult time to go through here. And I'm going to put the screws in first and put the adhesive on the back. That is a little better, I think. The piping is actually pretty darn tight on there anyway. So there's not a lot of room really to get this in here. Let's try this and see if it'll go through with that screw. So this one goes by there, but I'm going to have to countersink the other ones pretty good. The only problem is I don't want to go through here when I'm countersinking with the drill bit, but that one will work. So it's pretty tight, but I'm going to do the same thing. Okay guys, and this is the finished product right here. You can see I've put 2 lines of stitching on the top, bottom, sides, and here's the piping that I was showing and how it goes into the track right here. So it slides all the way up, keeps a good seal coming down here. I've put 5100 on the bottom of here, and I also have it screwed in. So you can see, not perfect, but pretty darn good, I think. And it's going to keep the shade, or it's going to keep the sun out of the windows, and it's going to keep the rain off of here. And then also with the Vevor sewing machine, I also made these hatch covers up here too. So if you can imagine, the hatches kind of look like this. And the black lines that have the 5200 in it, they get hot from the sun, and it actually kind of peels a little bit. So this is going to make it last a little bit longer. Also up here, I've got an old sail cover, and some of the stitching had come out, so I repaired that. And then in the Dodger itself, it had some of the stitching that was off, and I repaired all that. So with everything, I think the Vevor really helped us out and saved us probably a couple $1,000s, honestly. With canvas work, it's pretty expensive, but it wasn't that difficult. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's pretty easy. The hardest part of it, to be quite honest, was actually threading the machine and getting it all set up so that I actually knew how to use it. But other than that, once I got it going, the sewing was actually pretty easy. The only thing to remember is when you start, back it up to kind of lock it in and kind of let it go. And other than that, it worked out really well. So I'm very happy with this project. We're ready to start going now, and this is going to keep the sun out, it's going to keep the rain out, and I'm pretty happy about it. So until next time, I guess that's goodbye from us, and hopefully you leave us a comment down below, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and we can't wait to meet you out there.